Greetings and welcome to Walking in Wealth. I'm your host, JD Garnier, and you are listening to KKNOK 75 AM radio. I hope you had a productive week in your wealth creation journey. And listen, the path won't be easy and the road won't be smooth, but we are committed to walking in wealth. I'm thankful for the opportunity to share with you again this week. First things first, if you are not following me on social media, please follow me at Instagram at Garnier JD, Facebook at JD Garnier, and Twitter at JD Garnier1. Also, subscribe to my Melanomics YouTube channel. Also, if you need someone to empower your organization, inspire your staff, or galvanize your team, please contact me. There is no organization too big or too small for me to add value. Email me right now at jd@jdgarnier.com. Now, we all know the title of the show, Walking in Wealth. Walking is an action word. When you walk somewhere, you purposefully choose your direction, your pace, and your strut. There is nothing accidental about walking. It is a deliberate action. And this is the key. Nobody can walk for you. You got to do it yourself. Where do you start? Last week, I talked about the importance of acquiring assets, taking advantage of compound interest. I went over 3 ways to acquire assets, buy assets, create assets, and become an asset. And I discussed how vital it is for you to become an asset, for you to commit to increasing your talents, abilities, and gifts, for you to improve your human capital on a daily, on a weekly, on a monthly, on a yearly basis, so that you can improve your value to yourself, to your family, and to society. That improvement increases your worth, and that allows you to compound yourself by using that additional worth to buy assets or to create assets. Now, I know we're ready to get to the sexy part of walking in wealth, the exciting part, where you're buying and selling stocks, you own in real estate, you have multiple sources of income, you can travel anywhere you want to go, buy anything you want to buy. Everybody wants to enjoy the fruits, but the quality of the fruit is determined by the cultivation of the seed. The quality of the fruit that you enjoy is determined by the cultivation of the seeds that you plant. Before you can ever enjoy taking a bite out of that sweet fruit, there's some work that got to be done. Some labor, some discipline, some commitment. So what seeds are you planting? What cultivation efforts are you taking? See, we all want to enjoy the fruits without the responsibility of the work and effort. We want to be rich without having to be wealthy. A few weeks ago, I talked about the difference between being rich and being wealthy. Rich is the accumulation of resources and money, while wealth is the relationship between time and money, with the ultimate goal of eventually separating your time from your money. But you see, rich is sexy. Rich is glamorous. Rich is visual. Rich is going shopping, it's flying all over the world, driving fancy cars. You can see rich. You can visualize rich. Every image that we see of people with money is somebody enjoying their riches. But we never see the work. If rich is visual, then wealth is manual. See, I'm not trying to teach you how to be rich. I'm trying to teach you how to be wealthy. You might not be ready to be rich. I don't think we understand sometimes how much stress comes with being rich, how much responsibility, pain, and aggravation comes with being rich. Why do you think we hear stories of people who wasted millions of dollars, lost family and friends, fell into depression when they got rich? Lottery winners, athletes, entertainers. They all had all of the money that anybody could ever need, but they squandered it because they were rich, but they were not wealthy. If you're gonna do it right, you need to become wealthy before you become rich. You need to develop the right mindset that prepares you to handle a level of wealth beyond what you currently have. I don't want you to suffer that fate. How many times have we all did something that we believe rich people do and immediately realized that it was a mistake? You bought too much car for what you could afford to pay, and you couldn't sustain the payments. You bought a purse or a clothing item that you know you could not afford because it made you feel good, but you neglected a responsibility to make that purchase. You jumped in a business or took a risk that you weren't prepared to take and couldn't afford to take. I've done all of that. I told you, rich is sexy. It's exciting. It's impulsive. But see, wealth is discipline. Wealth is sacrifice. Wealth is slow. It's methodical. It's thinking, planning, strategy. Wealth is not something that you visualize. Wealth is something that you actualize. It's something that you walk in. Are you ready to put in that type of effort? See, we want to be rich so everybody can see it. The media has glorified being rich. The accumulation of money and resources. Social media, mainstream media, they all make us believe that being rich should be the goal. That all of the luxury items that represent class and success, that's what we should be pursuing. That's why we look for shortcuts to get these things. We set up hustles instead of businesses. We buy luxury items that we can't afford and neglect responsibilities that we know we have. And we use credit to live a life that's beyond our current means. Which brings me to today's topic. Credit. What is credit? What's the point of credit? Now, I can't go 5 minutes these days without seeing an advertisement about fixing your credit, about using your credit, about leveraging your credit, about strategies to tweak your credit. But do we even know what credit is? I know it's a score. I know it's access to capital. But what is credit really? What does it mean? There's a whole lot that I can learn about you just based on your credit. You know, in the old days when people lived off the land and you had a farmer, and let's say the farmer was a grain farmer and he grew bread and corn and grains, but he needed some wool or any other type of material for his family for the winter. He would go to the farmer down the road and say, hey, I need some wool for my family for the winter. I have nothing to pay you with right now, but my harvest is coming in when the season starts. So when it's ready, I'm going to pay you and your family back with a basket of bread and corn and grains. And the wool farmer would give him the wool with the understanding that once the grain farmer's harvest was ready, he would get back a basket of bread and corn and grains. They shook hands on that agreement, and then the wool farmer gave the grain farmer the wool. Once the grain harvest was in, the grain farmer brought the wool farmer back a basket of bread and corn and grains. He stood by his word. He did what he said he was going to do, and they built trust. And they could continue this relationship year in and year out. When one needed something, he could make a commitment to pay back what he had. Now, if the grain farmer didn't bring the wool farmer grains and corn and bread, The wool farmer would tell everybody in the town that the grain farmer was not a man of his word, that he lied, and that he tricked them out of his wool. And once the town knew about this, nobody else in the town would do business with the grain farmer because he could not be trusted. He received a heap of wool on credit and never made the wool farmer whole. His reputation in the community was destroyed. See, at the end of the day, your credit is your reputation. It is a numerical determination of your societal reputation. Are you a man of your word? Can you be trusted? Are you credible? Take away everything else that you think that your credit score represents, and essentially your credit is a numerical calculation of how society views you. Are you a man or woman who does what you say you're going to do? Are you a risk or are you a reward? If you borrow money, do you pay it back as agreed? Do you take on more obligations than you can handle? Do you use credit to buy assets or to buy liabilities? Your credit profile tells me who you are, not just financially, but personally. So let's think about this from the eyes of the lender, from the person who's providing you credit. If I'm considering lending you money and you have a history of late or missed payments, defaults, repossessions, what does that tell me about how you're going to handle the agreement on the money that I lend you? It tells me that I'm taking a huge risk by lending you money. It tells me that there is a possibility that I might not get my money back. And so to compensate me for that risk, I have to charge you a higher interest rate just in case I do not get my money back. If you want a lower rate, then you're going to have to make me feel more certain about how I'm going to get my money back. That's why it takes time to build credit. The same way it takes time to build a reputation. Now, on the other hand, if I'm the lender and I'm lending you money and you have an impeccable record of paying back your debts, of paying debts on time, of not borrowing more than what you can handle, what does that tell me about the agreement that we have? It makes me feel a lot more comfortable that I'm going to get my money back if I lend you money. Trust and credibility are earned. And listen, please understand, I'm not casting any judgment on anybody. All of us has made different financial decisions. We've had different situations and circumstances in life. We've all made bad financial decisions. You listen to somebody right now who's made terrible financial decisions. At one point in my life, I had terrible credit. My credit was in the low 400s. But let me be honest with you. I earned that score. Nobody ever taught me about credit. When I first became an adult, I was not a man of my word. I wasn't thinking about paying somebody back what I owed them. I had no concept of reputation, and I made all of the mistakes that they tell you you should not make regarding your credit. I earned that score. But when I got serious about my life, I made the decision to prioritize my reputation and become a man of my word. And that took years of commitment and discipline. It took years to build up trust and credibility and reputation. It took years to go from a credit score in the low 400s to a credit score in the high 700s, approaching 800. The first credit card I had, they gave me a $300 limit. That's all that they would be able to trust me with. Today, I have over $100,000 in available credit that I don't even need. I had to reestablish my reputation as a man of my word. That takes time. But you know the first thing that I did when I made the commitment to be a man of my word? I started answering the phone. I had creditors calling my house, calling my cell phone every day, day in and day out. And the phone would just ring. I would not answer the phone because I knew that I didn't have the money. And I was hiding from everybody that I owed. But once I decided that I needed to rebuild my reputation as a man of my word, I started answering the phone. I didn't have the money to pay what I owed, but I wanted them to know my intentions. And you know what happened? A dialogue. Once I decided to communicate with the people that I owed money to and to confront my irresponsibility, they started to be more willing to help me. And so I started communicating with everybody that I owed money to, and at the same time, I got a full account of everything that I owed and everybody that I owed and everything that I had. See, before I could rebuild my reputation, I had to make whole what I had already made promises on. And so I created a structured plan. I listed every debt that I owed from the highest to the lowest, and then I categorized my debts from the highest interest rate to the lowest interest rate. Then I determined the maximum amount of money that I could pay towards my debts every month. And as my income or salary increased, I increased not my luxury items, not my times that I went out to eat. I increased the payments on the debts that I owed. And I set a schedule to pay off my debts one by one, starting with the lowest amount and the highest interest rate. See, I know we want easy fixes, credit repair agencies, all of these games that people play with the system, manipulating credit scores to get things taken off your credit. Some of that stuff works. But I'm not interested in your credit score. I'm more interested in teaching you how to build an impeccable financial reputation. Because if you just fix your score and you don't fix your mindset, you're going to be back in the same position in a few years. Your credit score is just the end result of your reputation. Now, once I started my plan and I committed to pay down all of my debts, everything that was in the negative, everything that was behind, all of the things that had sullied my reputation, now I could start to reestablish myself. And so this is what I did. I did three things. I got one credit card. The largest limit that they would give me at the time was $300. That's how poor my credit was. But I used that credit card to reestablish my word. And so I would spend $25, $30 on it every month and immediately pay that off every single month. See, my goal was to establish a track record that I could pay what I owed in a timely manner. And so that $25, $30 payments, what that showed is consistency. I didn't need the credit card for anything else but to show and create a track record that I could pay what I owed. The second thing that I did was save up $1,000 and I opened a new bank account. And when I got that bank account, I got what they call a collateral loan. That's basically a loan against the money that you have in the bank, against your collateral. And so I got a loan against that $1,000. That's less of a risk for a bank because if you don't pay them, they have your $1,000. And so they default on the loan and they just take the money from your bank account. But from a credit reporting standpoint, it doesn't matter if it's a collateral loan. All it shows is that you have an outstanding debt. So I got a collateral loan of money that I had no intention on using. I held on to that money over the course of several months, paid the interest that came with that because that's the cost of doing business. And then I paid the loan in full. I did that 2 or 3 times to establish a reputation of paying what I owed in full. The third thing that I did was I started calling the credit bureaus to remove debts that I had paid off or made whole that had negative connotations. See, basically, I was trying to start fresh. I was communicating to them that I had paid these debts in full and asking if they could remove them from my credit. Now, when I did all of this, it was in my early 20s. Right now, I'm in my early 40s, and I have not had one late payment in that time frame. Now, when I go to open a bank account, they offer me $25,000 credit limits on my credit cards. They offer me $40,000 signature loans just based on my name alone. I have over $100,000 in available credit that I don't need. That's reputation. That's not me finagling my credit score without changing my habits. That's not me trying to game the system to have my score shoot up long enough to buy another car that I can't afford. That's discipline. That's mindset. That's walking in wealth. Now, what I did learn is that there are 3 factors that determine your credit profile, and those things are the basis of your societal reputation. The first thing is credit capacity. We all hear the term debt to income. Basically, your available credit versus the credit that you have used. I'll give you an example. If you have a credit card and it has a $1,000 limit and you use $100, you're using 10% of your available credit. What that tells someone who's lending you money or considering lending you money is that you are not utilizing the full extent of your credit. You're not taking everything that you have available. You're just using a portion of it. That's a good thing. If instead you have a $1,000 credit card limit and you max it out and use the full $1,000, what that is telling a lender is that you are using your available credit to capacity. It's telling them that there's not a whole lot of room, and one mistake could potentially risk you not being able to pay back your debts. Your credit is at capacity. The second thing that they evaluate is credit diversity. What do you use credit on? Do you just have a bunch of credit cards where you use revolving debt just to pay your monthly expenses? Or do you have credit on things like a vehicle or student loans or assets like a home or a business? What that tells a lender is that your life is diverse, is that you utilize credit in different ways, and that you have the ability to manage a diverse set of ways to utilize credit. It also tells them that you understand having credit on assets is more important than having credit on liabilities or discretionary items. The third thing that they evaluate is credit consistency. Do you consistently pay your debts on time? What that tells a lender is that you know how to manage your life. You know how to manage yourself. You know how to put things together, and you're organized, and you know where everything is. Credit capacity, credit diversity, and credit consistency. Are you over capacity? Are you diverse? Are you consistent? See, the whole point about credit and reputation is what I said earlier. Your credit is a numerical calculation of your societal reputation. Your reputation matters most when you need something. When you need society to help you fix a problem that you can't fix on your own. See, your reputation doesn't matter as much if you don't need anybody. If you're independently wealthy, your credit score is not as important as if you're in the middle class or if you're poor, because you need people less when you're wealthy. And so the ultimate goal with your credit is to put yourself in a position where you have it, but you don't need it. Because as long as you needed your reputation to get the things from society that you need, you have to follow the rules that society sets to maintain that reputation. If you borrow money from someone, that person, that bank, that company, that entity has the power to set the standards of how that money is going to be paid back. In this society, we all need each other. But your reputation determines the willingness of people to help you. We all know the story of the boy who cried wolf. I'm not going to tell you the whole story, but essentially, the first few times, he told people in the town that he saw a wolf that was trying to eat him. And everybody in the town came running to his aid and to his defense to help him, to get him out of that predicament, to save his life. And he thought it was a joke. He was just playing games. And after he did that a few times, the people in the town said, this man can't be trusted. This boy is not a man of his word. He is taking our kindness, our help for granted. And so the next time when he cried wolf, it was really a wolf. And his life was really in danger. But he had sullied his reputation in the community to a point where nobody believed him. And so nobody came to his aid when he needed them the most. And he was devoured by a wolf. That's how important reputation is. That's how important being a man or woman of your word is. I don't care about your credit score just so you can buy a luxury vehicle, just so you can max out your credit cards to buy things that you can't afford. I care about your credit score because it tells me if you are a person of your word, if you pay your debts as owed, if you are committed to walking in wealth. Now, I didn't talk about using credit to buy things like a house or a car or even a business. And all of those things are important. There is a place for utilizing your credit in a responsible manner, but that wasn't the purpose of today's show. The purpose of today's show was to help you understand what's the point of all of this. What is the point of it? It's not to manipulate a number so you can put yourself in a position to buy things that you can't pay for. It is to create a reputation for yourself where you can get help when you need it, when you can get assets when you need them, when you can get assistance or capital when you need it. And so before you go and pay somebody to repair your credit, to manipulate your score, to do all of these wonders to get you a credit score so that you can buy the things that you want to buy, just ask yourself, are you committed to changing your reputation? Are you committed to being a person of your word? Are you committed to being or doing what you say you're going to do? Because if you're not, your score is irrelevant. You're going to put yourself back in the same positions that you were in when you had a bad credit score. Are you committed to reputation, to consistency, to commitment? Are you committed to walking in wealth? That's my show for today. You have a blessed week, and I'll see you next week.